r/AskReddit. People of Reddit, did you ever have a teacher mysteriously stop coming to school? What happened? The elementary school my mom used to work for had some crazy drama. The principal disappeared. No joke, he just didn't come to work one day. He never called, no emails. Even his wife had no idea where he was. There was a police investigation and everything. Weeks later the truth comes out. He was secretly gay and ran off with some other man. Just packed a bag and left his life completely and was never heard from again. WTF. My coding teacher announced he was leaving in a week, no reason stated. After 10 years, he was just going to be leaving in the middle of the third semester. Turns out he berated a gay student for saying inappropriate things about being gay. He liked to suck D, he liked it up the ass, etc. He said he was making gay people look bad, and that student had complained about discrimination. The last day of class my teacher brought in a cake and his partner to say goodbye. Turns out my teacher was also gay, and it was the happiest I had ever seen him. This was circa 2009. I follow him on Facebook, he seems to be doing well. My first grade teacher. She stopped showing up one day. We had substitute teachers for months, and then she finally came back to tell us all she'd been diagnosed with leukemia. She'd been going through chemotherapy, so she had no hair anymore, and that's the only thing I grasped. I didn't understand what cancer was at that point. She passed away that year. I don't know if it was just me who wasn't told or all the kids. The parents were all informed. My music teacher in 6th grade had a bad habit of cursing in front of the kids. They called me into the office to ask me some questions, and the next week he was gone. The replacement music teacher we got was the best teacher I've ever had and helped me recognize my musical talent and get me out of my shell. 1. My 4th grade teacher never came back after Christmas vacation. He was a very sweet old man and looked just the way you would imagine a 75-year-old cowboy to look like. He was very cheerful and a great teacher. Often he would make time for some very cool stories from his youth if we finished the lesson early, and sometimes he even would play the harmonica for us. Even parents loved him. Just one of the best teachers a 4th grader could ever desire. He passed away at some point during the holidays, but we weren't told. The official announcement was that he had retired and went back to his hometown or something like that. I only found out about the truth about a year after. I cried so hard. I just would have liked to say goodbye to such a great man. Hear his music one last time. He's a very happy memory from my childhood. 2. My 7th and 8th grade English teacher went to a vacation trip in Germany. She never showed up to school after that. I heard she got back with a friend and just stayed with him in Germany. I hope she's doing alright. She was such a sweet person. Went to a private Catholic high school run by nuns. 9th grade homeroom/math teacher stopped showing up, and we had a bunch of substitute teachers until they found a permanent replacement. We managed to get the reason out of another teacher. She got pregnant out of wedlock and was fired. One of my high school teachers stopped showing out of nowhere, and we had substitutes for a week or so. In the meantime, rumors arose that he was involved with a student and all sorts of things. He finally came to school one day and told us that he was leaving, and he felt weird. We heard a couple of weeks later that he was beat up in the parking by a student's boyfriend, who went to jail for that. Not his first assault, and the teacher was like, "Nope, I'm out of here," which is a shame, because he was a great teacher and genuinely a nice guy. TLDR, a teacher got beat up by a douche in the parking lot and never came back. 10th grade English teacher stopped showing up for 4 months. Came back and she was 3 times as big as she was. She had cancer and was taking steroids rather than chemo or radiation. She died and left behind 2 kids under 10. Yes, turns out they were on their last year, showed up day 1 and the rest of the year was their saved up sick days. My 6th grade teacher did not know until the end of the year he was diagnosed with cancer, don't know the type. Then he killed himself later. Had my cousin as the teacher for that time. My sophomore year, we went through a couple of Spanish teachers. The first was a male that didn't even last 6 weeks. After a series of subs, we got a new teacher. She claimed to speak 10 languages, but didn't know how to teach. I spent Spanish class with my desk pushed against 3 others playing cards. Of course, not everyone kept to themselves. The teacher was an easy target for bullies. She lasted a few months of mean kids doing things like putting chalk dust in her drinks, and I don't know what else, since I mostly kept to myself, and then she was gone. The school told us she left for health reason. Rumor had it that someone put glass cleaner or some other chemical in her coffee. Had a male teacher in 4th grade. He was super cool. He showed me lots of attention, turned me on to cool books, even promised to take me to the cinema. He disappeared without explanation. I was upset. Only years later did I consider that he was likely grooming me. He wasn't just a teacher, but the VP and general school admin as well. Man dipped out, and for the first little bit all we heard was that he was going in for surgery and would hopefully return quickly after a speedy recovery. Fast forward a few more weeks and we're hearing nothing, and honestly starting to imagine what really went down. In all reality he beat his wife and kids, so yeah, he doesn't work there anymore. Rumor has it, he had a sexual relationship with a student. What made it weird was he was a hunchback neckbeard, and the student was transitioning to a male from female. So as you can imagine, it caused quite a stir. Freshman year art teacher Mr. Law suddenly bounced one day and didn't return. Rumor was he saved up like 6 years of vacation days and retired early. Always respected that move. We were assholes. Turns out my social studies teacher in the 2nd grade was a pedophile and was arrested for molesting a bunch of kids. Similarly, the vice principal of my high school was arrested and charged with multiple counts of statutory rape and producing child pornography. He was married with kids and no one saw it coming. He would cruise Grindr for underage teenage boys. He just filed an appeal and lost. I hope he rots in prison. Maybe my school district had more of these cases than others, but it was definitely a bit unnerving to find out that multiple people working in the school system would commit such egregious acts on children. Wasn't my teacher, but a teacher/baseball coach in my school went home after baseball practice one day to find his house completely empty, his wife and 2 children gone. His wife took everything but his house and left him with the divorce papers. He resigned from his job the next day and moved somewhere. I don't know what happened to him or why his wife left. I was a senior in high school and my school offered concurrent courses where we got high school and college credit. The instructor would be at our actual campus sometimes and others we did class over video. 2 instructors that year went MIA. Keep in mind they were actually college instructors who just volunteered to teach the concurrent high school class. First one. 9 weeks into the semester, 5 people out of a 15-person class get an email explaining he has been let go from the college and won't be our instructor anymore. A few weeks later my mother, who worked at my high school, discovers via the admin that he didn't get fired. Also he technically didn't quit. He just sent out that email to a few of us and then quit showing up. Still don't know what became of him. Second guy replaced the one from above. Guy 2 was weird as all get out. He taught us for the rest of the semester and 2 weeks into the new one, he just disappeared one day. Turns out the college fired him for stalking a girl. Yes, a French teacher in my middle school was replaced by a substitute one day. We later found out he was fired because he got drunk in school. Not a teacher, but a school bus driver. Now you don't normally pay much attention to your bus driver in school, but all throughout elementary school I had this same old man, and he was the greatest guy ever. We had this really casual friendship thing going. I would get on the bus every day and give him some insult jokingly, and he'd do the same back. Sometime through 5th grade he suddenly stopped showing up. It was always a sub. A few weeks later the principal came into the bus to tell us that he had died of a heart attack and gave us each a letter to give to our parents. I don't think anyone on that bus was as heartbroken as I was. It really was like losing an old friend that day. To this day, whenever I see a bus with the number 399, I still get sad, even though it was almost 10 years ago. Yes, we had 2 at high school. One was an English teacher who stopped coming in. We heard that he had some sort of mental health breakdown and was found gardening in the nude at his house or something. The other was a horticulture teacher who never returned after the summer. We learnt a few months later, when he went to court, that he got busted growing a lot of weed. I taught high school. A few years ago I had a coworker that was fresh out of college, still loved to party, and I was pretty sure she was hungover every day. Students obviously loved to talk about her and find her Snapchat and things like that. So, there were lots of inappropriate rumors floating around. One time I overheard them saying she had told them all to face the front of the class so that she could change clothes in the back. She had a party to get to. Next thing I know, she has a sub and is living in a different state. My science teacher is fairly old and he just stopped coming a week before a major exam, which was completely unlike him. We had subs for a week and were stressing because we couldn't ask him about anything. No one told us anything, even when we asked. The only rumor we got was that he has a heart attack or some other medical emergency. He shows up to school next week as if nothing happened, with his arm in a sling. He starts class by telling us our exam was pushed back by 3 days, and then begins class normally. When we asked him what had happened, he said that I had a cardiac event and had a pacemaker put in, which was pretty cool. He then proceeds to teach, as if everything is normal. Had a math teacher in high school that previously had worked entirely in high levels of research and had even had his work published. He got tired of the pressures of that, so took an early retirement and came to teach algebra to a bunch of 16-year-olds. It took less than half a year before it was apparent he had no idea how to interact with other humans, let alone teenagers. One day he just stopped showing up. Turns out he had a full mental breakdown. He was a nice enough guy, but definitely cut out for a lab and not a classroom. My math teacher freshman year of high school was always just the chill youngish guy who never seemed to take the job too seriously. In December or so we suddenly had a series of math subs for a 2-week period until a permanent replacement stepped in with little to no explanation. Sources close to the situation confirmed that he was fired for shooting a porno with some of the students. Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe.